بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على أفضل المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه الطيبين الطاهرين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي وبعد. جزاكم الله khair for making it through, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you. I know it's Sunday, early in the morning, and you choose to be in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this of benefit to you and your kids. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to learn so that we act. They say علم المنافق في لسانه وعلم المؤمن في عمله. The knowledge of a hypocrite is in his tongue, and the knowledge of a believer is in his action. So we're learning, of course, it's interesting, it's exciting, but we're learning so that we can learn lessons. And maybe based on that, we change the way we are, we change the way we think, and maybe learning from the past help us adjust in the present so we can change the future, inshallah. That's the aim. So again, a quick summary. Yesterday, you saw the rise of the Mongol Empire, and you can see the downfall, a big downfall of various parts of the Muslim world, right? And you see how dark and bleak things were, and we saw that the problem were not only the external forces in terms of Mongols and Crusaders. We also saw the betrayals coming from within the Muslims themselves. Some of the Muslim rulers, including the descendants of Salah ad-Din himself. And we saw what it led, the disasters it led to. And what we saw yesterday, we spoke about the Mongols, how they rose, and Genghis Khan, and we saw how he started confronting Central Asia, the Khwarezmians, right, and the problems that happened, and how Central Asia mostly fell in 1 or 2 years, right? And that was a big fall for the Muslims, and it's a warning sign. And then there was a respite break, but then people in Baghdad and nobody took warning, and we saw how we saw the laptop turning off. And then we saw that there is second wave happened, right? Which I call it like we have a 1.0, which is Genghis Khan, and then you have 2.0, which is Hulagu Khan, right? And the Mongols came again, right, with again a big invasion, and this time their aim was what? Just finish off the Muslims. Now it's the capital, Baghdad, the Khilafah, and don't stop there, just sweep everything, right? And we saw also yesterday what happened in Baghdad, and how the Khalifa was completely out of touch, and how it ended up with the calamity and disaster of how Baghdad fell to the Mongols, and the disasters, more than 1 million people died in Baghdad, right? And how it resulted later in many of the other cities surrendering simply, right? Like Aleppo and Damascus, and right? And then we saw how the Mongols swept all over till they took all of almost Syria, right? And we saw that the Crusaders, especially in Antioch, Armenia, the Korj, everyone, the Mongols it was like an alliance. They presented themselves, though they're the majority, they're the superpower, right? But they wanted always to present their invasion. It's not the Mongols, it's the forces of the alliance. We have Armenians, we have the Korj, we have some of the Ayyubiyin with us, we have Muslims, we have the Seljuks, right? So it's the allied forces, right? Versus, for example, Egypt or something like that, right? So we spoke a lot about Central Asia. We also alluded to what was happening in the Sham and Egypt. And the important thing to remember, if you remember the descendants of Salah ad-Din, how they fought between Syria and Egypt, and Jerusalem was a card, right? And the events that happened in Egypt, if you remember from yesterday, remember the throne, how Najm ad-Din died, and then his wife came to power, Shajarat al-Durr, and then people weren't happy. How can a woman rule a country like Egypt? And then she ended up marrying one of the Mamluks, right? And brought him to power. But then what happened? Another Mamluk decides to get married to. Remember the whole fiasco? And second wife and third wife, and everybody ended up dead. Remember that, right? From last time. So Egypt, in this time frame, when all this is happening in the area of Baghdad and Sham, it's in parallel with all what we discussed in Cairo, the downfall, and right. So those events are in parallel, and you can see now how the Mongols and the Crusaders are converging to one area. That the threat now is focused here, right? We discussed a little bit more about the Mongols and what they stand for. We finished by discussing the Burda, if you remember, right? Imam al-Busiri. It was developed in that time frame and the implication of it. Today, inshallah, by the way, this is a beautiful dua. I like this dua a lot. It's called the dua al-Nasiri. If you want a glimpse of what it means to have a scholar write a dua, be asking Allah to help the ummah, this is beautiful. And this is written more recently. This was written when the French attacked Algeria and Morocco. And it's again, this dua was so powerful that France banned it because it was so inspiring to people, right? Of what it did, right? And when you hear it and you listen to the words, it's very powerful. And we discussed how scholars of the time, like Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam, Abu al-Hasan al-Shadhli, were in the battlefield with people. And if you remember one thing from last time, that while Salah ad-Din's children were not like him, were not righteous, they fought, the legacy of Salah ad-Din continued, not in his children, in the infrastructure he built. And I'm really emphasizing this. It is extremely important for us. It's not about building masajid, right? And what programs do we have? What scholars do we have? What people do we have? It's not about one leader. Leaders come and go. Many times Muslims, including back in the day when the Khilafah was strong and powerful, right? Sometimes the Khalifa isn't that great. But you know what? The Ummah is surviving because the infrastructure is there. You have righteous people, you have scholars, you have an institution. It takes a bad leader ages to demolish a country. Well, in the United States, sometimes you have a leader like nowadays and you worry, right? That the country is still going and sometimes the infrastructure is still there, right? Anyway, so it is important to know that what Salah ad-Din built and Nur ad-Din Zinki, those schools survived. And those schools led a reform in terms of scholars that up till today, we read their works. Many of the scholars we read today, Ibn Kathir, Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn al-Qayyim, Ibn al-Jawzi, Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, Imam al-Nawawi, those are scholars that came from those schools. Right? So the schools that Salah ad-Din and Nur ad-Din Zinki built for centuries to come serve the Muslims, right? So the survival of those schools and scholars meant that the soul and the heart of the Ummah is still alive. And this is something we have to think about today. Where are our schools? Who's controlling them? Where are our scholars? Do we have the likes of Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam? I'll give you one story. Remember that great scholar that stood, and I will see him today. Remember when, in Syria, when the ruler of Syria said, "Help me against our brothers in Egypt," and he gave Jerusalem to the Franks. Remember the betrayal and how he stood up and spoke against the ruler, and how it ended up that the soldiers of al-Nasr switched sides. Remember this great scholar? When he went to Egypt, this is a story actually, when he went to Egypt, because the ruler of Egypt liked him so much, he saw the following scene. He saw the Sultan of Egypt, Najm al-Din, and the Mamalik. We discussed the Mamluks and their strong strength and power, right? And how they defeated the Crusades. So he saw Najm al-Din walking, and all the Mamluks, with all their power and their strength and their horses, walking in front of him, with their horses, and he stands in front of everybody. And then he calls on the Sultan, not with his name. He tells him, Yabna Ayyub, not Yasu, Yabna Ayyub, what is this? I come here and in your kingdom, you're allowing this to happen? And he said, what? He said, I saw stores selling wine in public. This is a Muslim country. How can you have stores in the selling wine to the people? And how can you do something like that? And the Sultan said, Sayyidi, this is something, I did not do this. This was from the time of my father. It was there before I come. So it's not my fault. And he said, are you among the people who says, Inna wajadna aba'ana ala ummah? Are you among the people that the Quran described, we found our forefathers following away and I just follow them? What is this? And the Sultan, and khalas Sayyidi, I'll get rid of it, I promise. And right? And then after he left, people came to Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam. Weren't you afraid? You speak to the Sultan of the Muslims, the Sultan Najm al-Din with the Mamluks. The Mamalik are very powerful people and they're very zealous, and and in public, and you call him Ibn Ayyub and you admonish him like that. Why? Right? Because I ask you this, shouldn't he admonish him in private? If somebody does a mistake, Do you admonish in public or in private? Private. So he was asking, yani, you know the fiqh, you know, but yet yani, you did it in public in a way that you just put him down in front of everybody. What's going on? And notice what he said. And he was asked, weren't you afraid? He said, no. When I saw him and I saw who's around him, I remembered Allah and who Allah is. And in front of me, he looked like a kitten, right? And then, yes, I admonished him in public because here is what's going on. When I saw him in his entourage, and I saw the Mamluks and how powerful and well dressed and their armor and glamorous, looks, I was afraid that he is going to become arrogant. So I wanted to put him down so that I break his arrogance in front of people. That was my aim. So you see here, the Sultan al-Ulama al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam is not only looking for the fiqhi aspect, he's looking for what? The inner state of the Sultan. Be careful when you're in power and strength and people are around you, it can play with your head. He said, I wanted him to humble himself in front of the word of Allah, to know that scholars are on top of him, and to know that Allah's on top of everybody, and that he would accept al-haq from anybody, no matter how it is said. Right? So that's who Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam is, this great scholar that was in Egypt. And we'll see him now more today, inshallah. Right. So let's go through the events of today, inshallah. So that's where we stopped yesterday, that the Mongols now swept Central Asia, Baghdad, Syria, Damascus. And now the final step was what? Go to Egypt. If we take Egypt, this is the one of the biggest centers that's remaining, right? Everything else is easy. Now they go to Africa and it's almost we're done with the Muslims, right? So now things look so bleak. Egypt was suffering from the turmoil. We said who's on the throne and the queen. Remember all this, what's happening, right? So it's in this time that Hulagu starts sending messages, again, the psychological warfare, right? To all the Muslim cities, threatening them, quoting the Quran, telling them, before I come, you come and surrender. Like Damascus did, like every other city did. Now, are you going to wait for me to come to Cairo? Come to me before I come. And you can see the letters he sent, right? The tone. Like, look at this. We are armies seeking destruction, not armies seeking a kingdom. Our goal is vengeance. Don't think that you can buy us with money. That's not what we want. We are here to rule the earth, and we're here to dominate. And yeah, we have no problem extinguishing or like removing, annihilating an entire ethnicity if necessary. That's what we want. So his messages were always like, like you can see the I wouldn't say just psychological warfare, how he presented the Mongols as what? Unbeatable. They are ones that care for no one, right? And many people did at this point surrender to the Mongols at that point. Now let's go to how things changed today. How will Muslims recover? What will happen next, right? How from this point will the Muslims come up again? Right. So today we'll start by this, again, the reminder of what was happening in Egypt. Remember this picture, right? How the Sultan of Egypt, Najmuddin, dies, and Shajarat al-Durr, his wife, comes to power, she dies, and we end up everybody struggling for the throne and everybody's being killed, right? And who comes to the throne? It's the only remaining person, Saifuddin Qutuz, one of the Mamluks. By the way, there is a spiritual story here that I often share with people. It's a hadith in Tirmidhi, Jesus, peace be upon him, that he had, Jesus, peace be upon him, it's all about what? Living a simple life, and right? So it happens that one time he had some of his companions, al-Hawariyin, and he tells one of them, go to the city, get us some food. Here is a little bit of money. The man goes to the city, not much money. He gets 3 loaves of bread, and he comes back, he's hungry. Lots of, other companions, and it's not, so what does he do? He eats one of them. And he goes back to Jesus, peace be upon him, and says, oh, Bismillah, here, 2 loaves of bread. And Jesus, peace be upon him, looks on him and says, who ate the 3rd loaf? And he says, what 3rd loaf? No 3rd loaf. There's only 2 loaves of bread. Right? What are you speaking? There is nothing. There is no 3rd loaf. So Isa alayhi salam says, okay, fine. And they walk, and Isa alayhi salam, they encounter a river, and he tells everybody, say Bismillah, hold my hands. say Bismillah, and they walk on water. Miracle. And they cross, and everybody's surprised. And he goes to that man and says, I ask you, by the one who made us walk on water, who ate the third loaf of bread? What third loaf? It's only two. Fine, right? And they go, and there is a desert, and Isa alayhi salam piles 3 heaps of sand, right? And everybody's looking, and then he turns to Allah and says, Ya Rabb, turn this to gold. And those 3 heaps of sands are now gold, 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 and everybody's shocked. And he goes to that man, tells him, look, the first pile is for me. The second pile is for you. The third pile is for the one that ate the third loaf of bread. And the man, I ate the third loaf of bread. I did it, right? So Isa alayhi salam says, okay, they're all yours. All yours. But you do not accompany me anymore. And subhanAllah, the man says, fine. And look at the trade-off. You're trading off the company of Isa alayhi salam for what exactly? But the man is like, okay, when it comes to money and gold, it's worth it. Fine, give me the, fine, right? And Isa alayhi salam leaves. Now this man is sitting in the desert, 3 like gold, and he doesn't know there is 3 bandits by, and the 3 bandits see this 3 piles of gold, 1 man, they come, they kill him, and they start what? Everybody takes a part, right? And then they divide the gold between them. And then they said, okay, we're hungry. So they ask one of them, go to the village, get some food for us while we decide what we're going to do with all this. The man goes to the village and decides, you know what? I put poison in the food. I give it to them. They die. I take their share. Now, while he's away, the 2 other guys are thinking, we're 2, he's 1. He comes back, we kill him, we take his share. The man comes back, they kill the man, right? They see the food, they eat the food. Everybody is dead. And Isa alayhi salam passes by the same place. What does he see? The gold. And what else? His companion and 3 people. And he says, this is the life of this world, the materialistic nature, and this is what it will do for those who want it and chase it. It will kill all of them. The gold is still there, and you see what around it? Everybody dead. The chair is still there, but look at how many people died for it, right? And subhanAllah, the one that ends up on the chair is one of the Mamluks, very interesting. Saifuddin Qutuz, a very interesting character, right? Known to be very righteous. Known to, actually, as a matter of fact, he was one of the students of Al-Izz ibn Abd salam, and he even told him about a vision he had, which we'll discuss. And Al-Izz ibn Abd salam, when he was a young boy, he taught him something. He saw something in this young man. And he was complaining to him, about his state with Allah. And he says, listen, son, I want you to do the following. Every day before you sleep, I want you to say, Allahu shahidi, Allahu nadiri, Allahu raqibun alayhi. Allah sees me. Allah's watching me, right? Allah's taking care of all of my affairs. This is a state of what? Muraqabah. Imagine if I live like that. Imagine if I walk from this door, Allah's watching, Allah's monitoring, Allah's seeing what I'm doing. Perform, you're in front of Allah. You're being watched. Allah's there. Allah's seeing everything. Allah's taking care of my affair. The boy kept saying it, and it really impacted his iman in a very experiential way. That he lives in the state of what we call, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu, I see. It's not, I see, my heart sees that there is, Allah's the one in control, Allah's the one, ashhadu, I witness. And I witness also means what? The way I speak, witness and testifies to la ilaha illallah. The way I pray testifies to that. The way I deal with people testify that. The way I dress testify to la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu. I'm a witness to that statement. I see it and I testify to it. So this young Mamluk was very special because there was this spiritual element also that was ingrained in him, right? And his deep belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now Qutuz takes the throne of Egypt. And at that point, what does he do, right? He has a lot of challenges. So he starts by saying, well, the previous Sultan, Al-Mu'izz, had a son, 8 years old. Let's make the son, Ali ibn Aybak, is the Sultan, not me. I will be the one just to manage till he grows up. I'll manage the affairs. But he is the symbol. He is the Sultan of Egypt, right? This is the first thing he did. Then there is internal challenges. The other Mamluks, because remember we said the Mamalik, remember we spoke about them last time, and how they're very loyal to their master, but their master is gone. So they view each other as what? Why you, not me? I'm better than you. We're competitors. So now you have a problem. The Mamluks might not, yani they might rival him. There might be what, a coup or something. So he had to deal with what? Possible problems from the Mamluks. There was internal unrest. Also the economy of Egypt with all the wars and the crusaders, and it was drained, right? So Egypt was under economical stress at the time. There is external challenges. Who? The Ayyubiyin in Sham. This was before Hulaku comes and takes over, right? Remember in Nasser Yusuf, how he asked Hulaku to send soldiers so he can take Egypt? Because they were very upset. What do you mean a Mamluk, they viewed them as slaves, takes the throne of Egypt? We're the Ayyubiyin, we're the descendants of Salah ad-Din. It became what? You can see it's an inheritance. Egypt is it's a part of our family heritage. Interesting, right? So he doesn't have our blood. He is not fit to rule. This is our family heritage. We're the Ayyubiyin. This is a slave. And what is this? So Egypt belongs to us, right? But Egypt is strong. That's why they wanted the Mongols to help them with it. So he is facing a threat from Nasser Yusuf, the grandson of Salah ad-Din, unfortunately, right? Now, the Mamluks, remember the Mamluks, how they split? Baybars and some, they ran away from Egypt and they're in Sham. The Mongol invasion is on the doors, right? The Crusaders may possibly ally themselves with the Mongols. There is a lot of things going on. He takes the throne of Egypt in a time things were very critical. What did Qutuz do? What helped Qutuz was the schools of Salah ad-Din. That the Azhar was there, right? The scholars are there. The infrastructure is there. Many of the scholars, especially Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam, was very close with Qutuz because he knows him. And if you have a scholar like Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam and his power, you have a lot of credibility with people, right? So that was one asset that he has. What is his plan? How will he plan to resist and reform an ummah in that state? Right. In this time, while he was doing this, while he started to take power, that's when the news came, Baghdad fell to Hulaku. It's in that time that Al-Nasir Yusuf, remember when he asked Hulaku to help him invade Egypt? Remember that from yesterday? And Hulaku was really upset with him. Remember why? How dare you? You think you are asking me, do you think you're equal? Do you think I give you Egypt for you? And how things turn sour. And now Hulaku Khan is what's threatening in Nasir Yusuf. So Nasir Yusuf, the one that was an enemy of Egypt, now himself is in trouble, right? So that happened. And Qutuz now calls for a meeting, all leaders, everybody, right? Because of all this news. Now, the scholars like the likes of Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam was present. And scholars like Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam and others take a step that at this time, we really need a strong man on the throne. And it doesn't make sense to keep a child of 8 years old as the symbol. So it is time to do what? Enough is enough with this legacy of an inheritance. Egypt is not an inheritance for people to just... So Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam tells him, you be the formal sultan. Just remove this small young boy. You now, we need a strong man. You're the strongest here. Take the throne of Egypt. Start, preparing for what is coming. So they take the necessary step that now what? The son of Aybak is off, and now Qutuz is declared as the Sultan of Egypt. Now, when that happened, there is a lot of things for Qutuz to do. He starts by doing the following. Now, those are the steps that he's going to do. First of all, facing the Mamluk rivalry. He knows that the Mamluks will not be happy. Why you, not me? And when he ascends to the throne, he gives this very powerful, sincere speech. And I want you to see what he's saying. He says, I did not come to power except to face my focus. The reason I'm here is not I want the throne. I'm here for one reason. The Mongols are on the door. and we have to unify, and we have to present a strong influence against them. This could not be accomplished without an authority of a strong sultan. Once we defeat our enemy, once we defeat the Mongols, the matter of who to rule Egypt is for all of you to decide. Once we accomplish our task, you can pick and choose whomever you want to take power in my place. You know what he's announcing? I'm not looking forward to a kingdom. I'm not looking forward that this is my seat and then my kids. No. The decision is going to be made by who? You have now just you guys select. It doesn't have to be royal family anymore. This system of royalty, I'm not buying in. The only reason, my only interest to sit on that seat is one thing: the Mongols. Unlike the previous people, it's the seat. He's saying, I'm not interested. We have a common enemy. And then he calms everyone. He says, temporary. I'm here. After that, you guys select whomever you want. So it resulted, all the Mamluks calm down. Khalas. We know that, and they see the danger. So, and again, remember, the zealous people, we have a common enemy. They decide like, yep, let's, and later we'll deal with this. And he does not want to stay on the seat anyway, right? So that caused a lot of what? Calmness and stability among the Mamluks of Egypt. The second thing he did, which was actually very interesting, right? He sent a letter to Al-Nasir Yusuf. Remember the one in Damascus, the one that asked Holako to help him invade Egypt, the one that allied with the Mongols, and now things are turning bitter, and the Mongols are invading, and they are surrounding Aleppo, and he sends a letter to Nasir Yusuf, and notice the letter. He says the following: I propose to be your representative and deputy in Egypt. I will not dispute with you over who to rule. If you wish, you can be in power of Egypt and Sham. And if you wish for me to be of service to you, I will come with all my army to be under your command against the danger you're facing. If you fear my presence, because I'm strong, fine. Send any of your commanders, and I will send my army under him to fight with you. You know what he's proposing? Look, the Mongols are coming. You will not be able to fight them by yourself. It's time to do what? Egypt and Sham need to be together. I'm proposing, what did you want? Take Egypt. Why are you fighting? Don't ask Holako. Come. Egypt is yours under one condition: that Egypt and Sham is together, and that we focus on fighting the Mongols. And if you don't want, I will send my army. I'll come. I'll service you. And if you're afraid that I'm powerful, I'll give my army to you. But let's unite and face the Mongols. When this letter reached Nasir Yusuf, what do you think Nasir Yusuf thought? It's too good to be true. Anybody thinks like that? That must be what? Yeah, something is this. Can you believe this? Really? You're just going to give the throne of Egypt because you're interested in unity of the Muslims? Do those people exist anymore? You see, he was like, really? Where are you coming from? This sounds like, the first centuries, right? But those people exist, and they will always exist, even in our times. Let not the likes of Nasir Yusuf that lives long in our day make us lose hope that the likes of Qutuz exist among us. And those are the type of people that Westerns, Orientalists can never see, because they assume everybody is interested in what? Power. Salah ad-Din is interested in power. Umar ibn al-Khattab was interested in power. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was interested, because nobody can be that sincere. The human beings are only driven by, no, there are human beings are not driven by materialistic things like you. We're not all like you. I'm sorry. There are other people that exist with other principles. And here Qutuz presents this sincere desire and will to serve the Ummah, and understanding that there is a common danger that is more important than Nasir Yusuf is a traitor, and Nasir Yusuf, it's not time to do that as long as the Muslims unite, right? So that was a very powerful message, right, from him. Now, dealing with past grievances. Remember all the Mamluks that left Egypt, right? Now Qutuz sent a letter to all the Mamluks, Babu Hassan, every Mamluk that caused the problem, the past rivalry between Aybak and Aqtai, and He sends what? A letter, all the Mamalik. Even if you attempted to revolt, even if you did anything, general pardon. We're all brothers. We need all of you to fight the Mongols. Every single one of you, return back to Egypt. There is a general pardon, and all of you are forgiven. We need to unite against the Mongols, specifically Baybars, because that was one of the strongest of the Mamalik. And he sent to him personally, come, you're safe. Come, I'll honor you. Come, I'll make you the head of the forces. And the Mamluks responded, because they saw the likes of Nasser Yusuf, if you remember, he didn't fight. So they found no other flag to be under in Sham. So that resulted in what? All the Mamluks started returning. With them, the remnants of the people, the sincere people of Sham, the army of Nasser Yusuf, that people that wanted to fight, but they saw no good leader in Sham. They saw one sincere flag. But that sincere flag is not only a ruler backed by who? And what type of scholars? The most credible. العز ibn Abd al-Salam, al-Shadhili, Ibn Daqiq al-Eid. That's something we lack nowadays. Show me a scholar backed by show me a ruler backed. And the Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam is not a pushover. Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam is not a person you buy with money. So the credibility Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam, so that is a flag that seems so sincere. That's a flag that has a history. Those are the people that defeated the Seventh Crusade. Those are the people that fought. Those are the people that are standing in the battlefield. They know what they're doing. It's not like a Nasser Yusuf. So they have a credible history, they have scholarship, they show sincere desire, and they're well-trained in strategy. They know what they're doing. It's not just words. The likes of Qutuz, put him in the battlefield, see what he'll do. As we discussed before, their training, they are very powerful, right? So when people saw that, all people that wanted to do something found a state, not just a group, not a state, a whole state that is ready to raise that banner. And what happened now? Qutuz started getting thousands upon thousands upon thousands from Sham, everywhere. People started gathering around Qutuz, right? And you can see Al-Mansur al-Ayyubi and his troops from Hama arrived to join Qutuz, right? Large portions of the Nasser Yusuf army heads to him. Soldiers from Banias and many other cities of Sham went with Qutuz to fight with him. So now the army of Egypt with the Mamluks is growing. So he's forming an army with a sincere desire to do something. He achieved unity. You see, unity is extremely important. By showing sincerity and that stop fighting over petty things. Things are much more serious nowadays, right? So now, the importance of psychological warfare, right? The Mongols, as if you remember, they started doing what? Remember all the rumors? Mongols eat the flesh of the humans. The Mongols are unbeatable. The Mongols see the future. The Mongols. And so to fight that, he noticed people are psychologically scared from the Mongols. That should not stay. So now the role of the scholars is what? Tawheed. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar is something we say. Do you mean it? Allahu Akbar. Allah's greater than the Mongols. Allah's greater than Hulaku. Allah's greater than the superpower. Allah's greater than to be compared. Allah's on top of this tawheedi aspect, right? لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. لن يصيبنا إلا ما كتب الله لنا. ما شاء الله كان وما لم يشأ لم يكن. All those principles, but taught not in a very experiential way. And that's when the likes of al-Shadhili and al-Mursi Abu al-Abbas, this is real tasawwuf, by the way. Akhlaq and sidq. Not just dancing and spiraling. This is not what it was, right? So embodying that message of Tawheed Wijdani, I really mean it. And then best of character. So scholars were now mobilized to what strengthened the inward dimension of the soldiers and the people. You can fight. Yes, we can do. Yes, we can defeat them. They're defeatable. Yes, we will stop them. Because at that point, Hulaku is coming with 200,000 troops. How many do you have? 30,000, 40,000? He conquered everybody. Maybe it's better to do what? Make a treaty with him like everybody else. And people were looking for that. I mean, he won't spare us. He destroyed Baghdad. We're not bigger than Baghdad. We're not bigger than the Khalifa. So that element was important. So now Qutuz and the scholars start speaking to people and igniting hope of what? Allah will bring us victory. We will be victorious. It can be done. Don't lose hope, right? Now, when this is happening, a letter comes from Holako. Holako is sending a letter to who? Qutuz in Egypt. Basically, your turn is next. And they receive this letter from Holako. And notice how he starts. From the King of Kings, East and West, the great Khan, in the name of God, the creator of, mashallah, he believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator of the earth and heavens, to the King Qutuz, who belongs to the race of the Mamluks. You see what, like, who are a slave? We know who you are. We know that you're not legitimate. Those Mamluks, like Baybars who were in Sham and ended up not being able to fight us under Nasser Yusuf. And we know that they fled to you. You see what he's saying? We know what's going on very well, right? Who fled from our swords to this region, where they now enjoy its blessings and yet kill its rulers. What is he alluding to? Remember, you guys? You killed Turanshah and you killed each other. We're aware of how you are. You're for the throne, you're killing the legitimate rulers of Egypt. You see, you're not very righteous. We know what you're doing, right? It's a part of his message, right? So you're not ideal. You're not good people after all. This is the message. Know that we are the army of God on his earth. نحن جند الله في أرضه. Very interesting. Holako is the army of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He created us from his wrath and direct us against those whose anger has descended. Let the fate of other lands be a lesson for you and deter you from defiance. Take heed from what has befallen others and submit to our authority before the veil is lifted and you face the regret and error. For we do not show mercy to those who cry, nor do we pity those who complain. لا نرحم من بكى ولا نرق لمن اشتكى in Arabic, like in the rhymes. You have heard of our conquest of the lands, the purification of earth from corruption on our hands, and the killing of most of its inhabitants, as Allah said in the Quran. إن الملوك إذا دخلوا قرية جعلوا أعزة أهلها أذلة وكذلك يفعلون. We're following the Quran, mashallah, right? Yeah, alhamdulillah, right? Flee if you can, for we shall pursue. What land will shelter you? What road will save you? What country will protect you? There is no escape from our swords and no refuge from our fear. Our horses are swift, our arrows are piercing, our swords like lightning, our hearts are like mountains, our numbers are like the grains of sand. Fortress will not shield you, armies will not avail you, and Allah will not answer your prayers. Why? You've consumed the forbidden, failed to honor, you remember? Broken your oath. You are sinful people. You are not connected to your Lord. Allah's against you. Don't think your dua is of any use to you. Your dua will not even work. Right? Who is going to save you, right? So be glad of disgrace and humiliation as Allah Almighty has said in the Quran. Right? MashaAllah, like he's quoting Quran left and right. This day you will be recompensed with torment of disgrace because you were arrogant in the land without right and because you used to rebel. And those who have wronged will come to know what an end they will return to. سيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. Right? And then he finishes, whoever seeks war with us will regret it, and whoever seeks peace will be safe. If you comply with our conditions and commands, you will have what we have, and you will owe what we owe. But if you oppose, you will perish. Do not bring destruction upon yourselves with your own hands. Be warned of those who have already been cautioned. It is clear to you that we are the infidels, and it is clear to us that you are the wicked. What is he saying here? That you believe that we're the kuffar, and we believe you're al-fasiqun. He's quoting that, right? Like in a very interesting way, right? We have been empowered by the one who has decreed matters and set them in motions. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Do not prolong your reply, hurry to respond before the war ignites its fire. You will find neither prestige nor honor from us nor protection. You will face from us gravest calamity and your lands will become empty. We have acted justly by sending this message to you and awakened you. We have no further objective but you. You're the only remaining one. We're coming for you, right? Peace be upon us and upon you, inshallah. and upon those who follow the path of guidance. وَالسَّلَامُ عَلَى مَنِ اتَّبَعَ الْهُدَى. Fear the consequences of destruction and obey the supreme king. Say to Egypt that Hulaku has come with swords unsheathed and sharp. The mightiest of her people will be humbled. He will send their children to join the aged. Basically, what? In death. And this is the message of Hulaku to Qutuz. And it's fear striking, right? And now Qutuz calls for a meeting. What are we going to do? And now people start to differ. What should we do? The Mamluks are like, we're not that many. This is a 200,000 army. I mean, he destroyed everybody. What should we do? And opinions differ. Some people are, maybe we should seek some kind of a surrender. Maybe we should offer something. No, fight, not fight. A debate among the Mamluks. It is scary, right? Now, Baybars has an opinion. What do you think the opinion of Baybars was? Baybars was the following. Here's my opinion. You kill all his messengers, right? You hang their heads on all the gates of Cairo, and then go fight. And go fight where? You don't wait for him. You go for him. This Baybars. This is the Mamluks, right? See their strength, right? And why cut the heads of... why do you think... This is, by the way, not permissible. But why is he thinking that? Because once you do that, there is no possibility of let's rethink peace. So if you said let's fight, maybe after 2 months, what happens? No, maybe it's not a good idea. You cut the heads of the messenger. What will Hulaku do? So you see why he's doing that? He wants to put people like it's done. And you do that, Hulaku, it's either he will come kill all of us, or there is no peace. Right? So you see how Baybars is thinking, right? And of course, Qutuz was like said a very interesting statement. He says the following: Ya Umara al-Muslimin, O Emirs of the Muslims, for too long you have consumed the wealth of the treasury while being reluctant to engage battle. I am setting out to face the Mongols myself. I'm going out. I'll fight even if it's me alone. Whomever chooses jihad, let them accompany me. And whomever does not choose it, let them return to their home. I'm not going to force anybody. I'm going. It's done, even by myself. Those who are with me, who wants to do, join me. Those who don't, stay home. But notice what he says. For Allah is watching over them. Remember the statement? And the sin of failing to protect the honor of Muslim women will rest upon those who hold back. You want to see what will happen to your sister and your daughter and your mother in the hands of the Mongols? When that happens, it's on you. Because you are the people that are responsible. You're the Mamluks, you're the army generals. It's you, and you have been trained, and you have taken the wealth of who else? Right? So you see the statement of Qutuz, right? And of course, the Mamluks, with their zealousy, everybody's like, that's it. We're all with you, right? And now Qutuz is going to write back a response to Hulaku, right? What was the response? And I want you to see his response, right? Now, this is from Qutuz to Hulaku Khan. He's responding. Say, O Allah, you are capable of everything, and all praise is due to Allah, and the blessings and peace be upon our Master Muhammad, the unlettered Prophet. Upon the letter that appeared at dawn from the Khan royal throne, it has become clear that you were created from his wrath, and you are empowered over those upon whose his anger has fallen. You do not show compassion to the ones who doubt, nor do you show mercy to the tears of weeping. For Allah has removed mercy from your hearts, and this is one of your greatest faults. Those are the traits of the shayateen. You said you don't have mercy for anybody. You think that's good? هذه صفات الشياطين. You have a shaitani nafs. This is not something to brag about. This is actually tells us who you are. And this is a vice, not something to, right? And he says this is what the traits of the devil, not the attributes of. Let this serve as a witness against you. Notice this statement. And let your own self-description serve as a warning and a command towards you. What you said is actually a warning to you, not me. Right? And then he continues, say, O disbelievers, قل يا أيها الكافرون لا أعبد ما تعبدون. I do not worship that what you worship. In every book you are cursed. In every ugly description you are mentioned. And every messenger's tongue recounts you. We have news of you from where you were created, and you as disbelievers, or you as you have claimed. May Allah's curse be upon the disbelievers. Right? We know who you are very well. We have you in our book. We're clear. You're not going to confuse us. We know who we are. We know who you are. Now, responding to the second point, which is very interesting. You claim that we brought corruption. You witness that we have mistakes. And as such, we are what? Bad and should be punished. That's what he's saying. He's saying that you missed many things. So he's saying what? You cling to branches without care for the roots of the matter. Yeah, we might have mistakes. Yes, Muslims are not ideal. Yes, some of us are drinking. Yes, some of them. But you know what? Those are branches. What is the root? We say La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, and you don't. And La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah is so strong that a Muslim, even if he has mistakes, sins here and there, he's still a person of Tawheed. He still says Muhammad Rasulullah. He's still, Allah to some degree is his wali. So you miss the root. You're speaking about the branches and missing the root. We say La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, right? And then he says, we, the true believers, as such, do not bear any permanent flaw, nor we are defiled by few stains. The Quran was revealed to us as a source of mercy that remains unchanged. We verified its revelation and understood its interpretation. You're quoting the Quran left and right? Well, we understand what it means. We were very well aware. You see here the importance of ilm, right? Cannot use it against me, right? Fire was created for the likes of you, kindled for your skins, and the heavens split apart. Our unity is not shaken by threats, nor do we fear intimidation. With the power of the Almighty, the praiseworthy, we are not swayed by terror, nor disturbed by alarm. If we disobey you, it is out of obedience. If we kill you, it is victory. If we die, there lies an hour between us and heaven. You claimed our hearts were like mountains and our numbers are like sand, but fate is not deterred by large flocks, nor does a little fuel consume large quantities. Shall we flee death while embracing dishonor? Woe to how you judge. Escaping humiliation is not the same as escaping death. I don't know if you understand what he's saying. Humiliation or death? Death. Whoa, how do you judge? Right? And he's saying what? Confronting death is our highest aspiration. If we live in happiness. If we die as martyrs. Right? And then he continues. Do you ask us to obey your leadership? After the leadership of the commander of the faithful and the Khalifa of the messenger of the Lord of creation? We loyal to our Khilafah. You kill the Khalifa and you want us to obey you instead of. Is that what you're asking? لا سمع ولا طاعة. No obedience, no hearing. Right? And then he tells him, do you seek for us to surrender our affairs to you before the veil is lifted and error creeps through your treasury? Woe unto you. You want us to disbelieve after faith? Adopt apostasy after clarity? Tell your writer. Notice what he's saying. We know very well what's going on. This is not you. Right? Now here's a message. Tell your writer who crafted this message for you. Right? Who polished his words and made his message grand, that you have achieved your intent, your brevity and excess of. By Allah, your letter was no more to us than the creaking of a door or a buzzing of a fly. It's not scary at all, right? We recognize your eloquence, but you are, as someone said, someone who memorized few things while forgetting many things. You wrote, the unjust will come to know which end they will face. This message is to you, not to us. The victorious king, which is Nasr Qutuz, along with other princes of Damascus, will ensure that you are sent to hell and cursed to the lowest place, beaten with iron nails and smelt hammers. Tell them with all your eloquence. He's telling the writer. Go tell your leaders. Go tell Holako. If you're eloquent, write to him. Tell him what need is there for misquoting verses, fabricating stories, and classifying such letters. Why are you doing this? Go tell them this. Why do you need to do all those things, right? Do not promise us an alternative of peace. Our rendezvous is the battlefield. We have spoken what must be spoken, and peace be upon us and upon those who follow guidance. fear the outcomes of misfortune and obey the highest king. This is the response of Qutuz to Khulaku. And the reason I'm saying this, you can see the psychological warfare here was what? Zero. Because we know the Quran, we know Allah, it cannot be used against it. When we don't know Allah, when we don't know the Quran, when we're shaky, people can start to what? And we see a lot of the youth, oh brother, do you see this ayah in the Quran? What does it mean? Oh, did you see this hadith? What happened? Wow, and they use it against us. And that is not, it's not their fault. We do not understand it. And when we do not understand it, here you see it didn't work because Khut is saying, I know very well what you're speaking. I know my Quran very well. And I know who wrote that. And you can see it did not work at all. Actually, he read in it the opposite. This is a testimony of who you are. Now I'm clear. You're the shaitan, you're a shaitani nafs, right? So it was very clear for Qutuz what needs to be done. Oh, can you? Right. The first problem, by the way, Qutuz ended up, Baybars told him you have to kill the messengers. Kill some and leave some. And Qutuz did comply and they killed some of the messengers of the Mongols and hanged their heads on the gates of Cairo. Now, this is one thing that Qutuz did do, right? And we discussed why. Is it okay to do that from an Islamic perspective? The answer is no, right? But at that point, with the likes of Baybars and the state, they saw it as like, a necessity. But that is what people are not ideal. I mean, it's not Qutuz doesn't make any sins, or that's a small slip, right? And you see why they did it, because he knows he wants no return, right? So that happened anyway. Now Qutuz starts what? Let's prepare the army. To prepare an army to meet Hulaku, you need a lot of what? Resources. So now let's look at our financial resources. Oh, big problem. Egypt is not that rich. Egypt is a poor country. Egypt is a poor country. We don't have anything in the treasury. The treasury is empty. There is not enough money. What should we do? And the Mamluks immediately suggest what? Easy. Taxes. Ala tool, right? You want money, just increase the taxes. And after all, we're defending the people, right? The Mongols are coming, we're going to fight. Yeah, help. Start what? Collecting taxes from people, right? And you can give it good names too, right? You know what I mean? Some people, if you're Egyptian, you understand what I'm speaking about. Anyway, I'm going to get into trouble for this, right? Type. Qutuz's response, is that permissible? Is it halal to do this? Is taking taxes from people halal? What is the ruling? Anybody, do you think any of the previous people thought even about that? Because the Prophet ﷺ told, لا يدخل الجنة مكاس. Those who orders taxes unnecessary and unlegitimately, they will not enter. It's very serious, very serious. So Qutuz knows about it. He said, this is not halal. What do you mean? I just go to the public. I mean, what does it mean that you work and I take 40% of your paycheck? Am I working for you or something? You take 30%. Why? Well, I'm doing some services. You take 30%, 40%, and every time I buy something, you take taxes? Yeah, it's for your own good. The Islamic system isn't this way. Salah ad-Din and Nur ad-Din Zinki, one of the first things they did when they took control, abolish all tax, 0%, nothing. Because it's not halal. We want you to donate. There is endowments, there is waqf, there is other ways. But especially for the poor people, you're barely making enough and I come and take 10% from you? And then the rich ones, we know what's happening, right? It's not fair. We're all struggling, right? So he says, is that permissible? I need the scholars to put their input. So Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam comes, right? As usual. Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam, very blunt, right? Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam comes. When the enemy enters the land of Islam, it becomes obligatory on everyone to fight. And for this purpose, it's only permissible to assign taxes on the public if two conditions are first met. What are they? First, that there is no wealth left in the treasury. Check. Right? But what's the second one? That all the emirs, those Mamalik, start selling their extra valuables and ornaments till they are only left with their basic war gear and horses. He's saying what? You guys, look at your wealth. You want to tax the poor? And you have you start selling all this with extra things you have. From where did you get all this? When you sell all this and you become as low as the average person, and it's not enough, then only then it's permissible. Before doing that, the answer is no. What is he telling Qutuz and all the Mamalik? You start with yourself. And you don't sell 10%. You keep selling and selling and selling till what? Then speak about people. You start with you. I wish we can say that to some presidents. I wish. And what does Qutuz respond with? Qutuz goes home and sells everything. And now the Mamluks, and you can see how now they're looking at Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam. And they have Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam, by the way, he has a history with the Mamalik. When he entered Egypt, right, remember? And he saw the Mamalik, and he asked about them. And then they explained, well, the Sultan used to buy them as slaves, as kids, and train them, and then he does what? He frees them. And then he said, wait, who bought them? The Sultan. What money did he use? The public's money. They don't belong to the Sultan. They belong to who? So the Sultan freeing them is invalid. So he went to the Mamluks, all of them. All of you are slaves. And it's invalid. All what you're doing is invalid. Right? And me as the Qadi will nullify everything. What is the solution? He said there's one solution. He used the state's money to buy you. Right? If he wants to free you, he can't. So if you want to be free, we have to sell you in the public place, in the marketplace. And people can wish they can buy you, then free you. You know what it means? You're going to take Bebars in the marketplace, make him stand and say, Bebars is for sale, $10 or $20, $30. Those are the Mamalik. And they were like, you're out of your mind. And he says, this is the only way. Right? And one of them was so upset with Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam. So he put his war gear, armor and stuff and swords, and right? And he headed to the house of Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam. And he banged the door. Right? And the son of Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam opens the door and he sees what? The Mamluk with the sword and armor and stuff, and those people, and right? And he runs to his father, says, well, the Mamluk, there is. And his father, Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam, said, son, don't worry. He's not going to harm me. Nothing bad is going to happen to me. Why? He says, your father didn't reach the rank to become a shaheed and a martyr. So I don't think Allah will grant me that. I'm not that high. So because I'm not that high, he's not going to do anything to me. So just don't worry about it. I didn't reach that level yet. Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam goes and looks at the Mamluk in his face. What do you want? And you know what happened? The Mamluk froze. And could literally froze. And said, what do you want? And the Mamluk fell on his knees and started kissing the hands of Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam. Said, Sayyidi, please forgive me. He said, Sayyidi, what do you want? He said, I have to sell you. And we said, okay, do that. Right? What am I showing you? Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam, this man, this is a scholar, right? And his rank and his authority, that this fear and relation with Allah is in his heart. That's why when he speaks, even the Mamalik, those are fearless people. But in front of Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam, those are the type of scholars that people respected, right? And you see how strong they were. So now Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam is the one. No, I keep doing that today. He's the one telling them about this, right? So they start doing what? They discover now all the Mamluks started selling their property, and they discovered that Egypt is a very rich country. Subhanallah, we discovered Egypt is not poor. There's a lot of wealth in Egypt, right? And they raise enough money to start the war campaign against Holako. The plan. Now, Qutuz and Bebars, remember the people of strategy. What was their plan? The plan of Qutuz and Bebars. We will not wait for the Mongols to go to Egypt. We are going to take our army, we attack them in Sham. We are going out for them. People started opposing. Not a good idea. Why? Sham is not helping them. What else? Good. We're in Egypt is our country. But you know what they were thinking? Maybe, I mean, if you go out, it means what? Definitely war. Maybe if we wait, maybe something happened. Maybe, you know, maybe Holako dies. Maybe, you know, the qadr of Allah happens. Who knows, right? So you just wait. Maybe something changed. But if you go to him, it's 100% war. But if we wait, who knows? Maybe he changes his mind. Maybe something happens and we're all good, right? So that was the opinion. And Qutuz and Baybar's reasoning was this is not, it's the problem is not Egypt. It's not we're fighting them because of Egypt. They took Baghdad, they destroyed the Khilafah, they took Sham. We can't leave them. It's not even if we have to remove them. We have to continue like so. It is about what we those are Muslim lands. It's not Egypt is my country. I defend Egypt and the dirt of Egypt only. Sinai is important, but Jerusalem لا مش مشكلة. I'll die for Sinai, but not Gaza. La Gaza is not part of Egypt. This is nationalism. I'm Egyptian. Egypt is my really, and Jerusalem is not. Doesn't mean anything to you. And what does it mean I die for a dirt of land? I die for principles. If the ruler of Egypt is the Pharaoh, I'll fight him. I like to think if Salah ad-Din was there, I like to think I will be in the army of Salah ad-Din attacking Egypt when the Ismailis were there. I like to think of myself like the mu'min of Al-Fir'aun that spoke against his own people, Surah Ghafr, because he loves his people, but you're not on the right path. Me and you being born in the same country does not mean I'm your ally. إنما وليكم الله ورسوله والذين آمنوا. My ally is Allah and His Messenger and those who believe, not the people that were born in the same city. Since when are we this way? Of course, I love the place where I was born, but allegiance is not based on family and is not based on nationalism. It's based on principles. It's based on La ilaha illallah Muhammad. It doesn't matter. Qutuz is not Egyptian. In Egypt, of course, we love Qutuz. We love Salah ad-Din. Neither of them are Egyptians. And by today's constitution, if they come to Egypt, they cannot be the president. You have to be an Egyptian and your father Egyptian. And so Amr ibn al-As, the companion of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if they come today, sorry man, you cannot rule Egypt. And I'm not speaking about Egypt alone. This nationalism is a problem. What do you mean? Yeah, to rule Jordan, you have to be a Jordanian. Really? Is this how it worked? This is a concept that's brought to us. It doesn't. That's why when the Ottomans were there, and the Ottomans end up taking Egypt. When you study history, they tell you the Ottoman invaders. They invaded Egypt. No, they're not invasions. These are the Khilafah. It doesn't matter. Turks, Egyptians, Jordanians, Abbasis, Amawis. We're one. It's like saying Texas had to be ruled by Texans only. The president has to be from California. What do you mean the president has to be from California? Would you allow a president to come from Texas? But we are people of California. We are not going to be ruled by someone from Florida. We don't think this way. It's crazy. Yeah, you love California. I understand. It's the place you were born. But this is the United States of America, you see. Why? Muslims, where are we from this? What happened to us? You know, this nationalistic thing, it's a disease, actually. It's very serious. And it will keep us divided when we think this way. Right? So it's just an interesting message here, right? Type. So the idea was this is not about Egypt. It's about Islam. It's about Al-Quds. It's about the Mongols. It's about the Abbasi Khilafah. It's about Iraq. It's not about just defending my piece of land in it, right? So Qutuz, that was his plan. Another fear was, you're going out of Egypt. What about the Crusaders? You're going to meet them in Sham and the Crusaders are there. What if the Crusaders attack us from the back? We're now in their locality. So what are you going to do about the Crusaders? So he decides what? He sends a delegation to Akka. Where do you stand? We are coming and we want to fight the Mongols. Where is your stance? And you find that the Crusaders of Akka were very afraid from the Mongols at this point themselves, because they know they can do anything. So they offered Baybars, they offered Qutuz, we will help you out. Don't worry about us. You want us to fight with you? We will come. And at this point, Qutuz says, no, you do not fight with me. All what I want is what? Safe pass and do not fight against me. Right? And they agree and they sign the treaty, and the emirs of Qutuz return with some news. We notice that the city of Akka is not very strong now, and they are trusting us. So why don't we use that? They're trusting us, send some of us, and maybe we can do what? Yeah, maybe we can go from inside a betrayal, basically. And then we take Akka. What an opportunity. And Qutuz says, no, Muslims, when we give a word, we don't break it. We do not do that. We gave them our word. We cannot break our word. It's not our trait, right? We cannot take advantage of that situation, right? Right. What happens now is the plan. So Qutuz decides to divide the army into two. His army, and he puts Baybars with some group of warriors in the front, a vanguard, if you will. And he tells them, proceed in front of my army. Why? Let the Mongols see you first so that they think this is our army only, right? And go and start, marching towards Gaza. And Baybars goes to the city or the area of Gaza, and he finds Baydar, one of the warriors of the Mongols, in Gaza already. And Baybars, being who he is, what does he do? He attacks. He attacks this outpost of the Mongols, and a battle happens. It's a smaller battle. It's called the Battle of Gaza, right? And this battle happens between Baybars with the vanguard and Baydar. And by Allah's grace, Baybars destroys, completely annihilates the forces of Baydar, right? Now that small battle, it's not a big one, had tremendous impact. Two things. The report that came now to Hulako is what? Yeah, Egypt is attacking, but what is the size of the army? Small, right? But the impact that this battle had, the Battle of Gaza, after the Battle of Gaza, thousands and thousands and thousands of people started volunteering with Qutuz. It woke people up. Why? For the first time, they saw what? The Mongols are defeated. They're not a superpower after all. They run away. It's doable. So hope. Gaza sparked hope in the hearts of the Muslims at that time. And because of this battle, which wasn't in the grand scheme, nothing to be mentioned, but it had its effect. And now morale increased. People came and volunteers and the size of the army of Qutuz now is what? Growing. And Muslims are with him, and the legitimacy and the du'as of people, and people, everybody wants Qutuz to win, right? You think that is small? The battle is small, yes. But the consequences were not small. It was the start, right? So what happened in Gaza had a strong ramification of the events next, right? Now here is one of the fruits. Qutuz receives Sarim ad-Din, one of the Ayyubiyin that was allied to the Mongols. Remember, the Mongols have their Muslim alliances. One of them comes and requests to meet Qutuz. What happened? He says, I decided to switch sides. I saw, the Battle of Gaza woke people up. Some people woke up to discover they're on the wrong side. And he decided, I see now what's going on. I'm on the wrong side of the camp. And I decided it's time I have to do something. I need to switch. So I'm here, I'm switching sides. Now I'm allying with you. And I have news for you. 3 pieces. Number 1, the Mongol army is not the same size it used to be. So don't be afraid of them. What happened? Allah's help. Remember Hulaku, 200,000? At this point, Menku Khan, the great Khan of the Mongols, dies. The rule of the Yasa, if the great Khan dies, all royal family members and all leaders must go to Karakorum, like the capital, to select the next Khan. If you don't come, it's death penalty. So Hulaku now has to do what? And Hulaku is one of the candidates to be what? The Khan of the whole Mongol Empire. So Hulaku and all they decide what? He has to leave. So a big part of his army decides to do what? We have to return to Karakorum. But he leaves a sizable part under Katboga, which is one of the greatest military leaders that was even from the time of Genghis Khan, to lead the campaign in Sham with a big army. But he's telling them, hey, don't think they're 200,000 anymore. Holako is, Allah helped, so don't be afraid of them. Then it's not the same army that you heard about. The right wing is the most powerful part in the army. So when you arrange your army, make sure that your left wing is the strongest of your troops. The third, Al-Ashraf al-Ayyubi, who's allied with the Mongols, he decided to switch sides. And he's going to do the following. Once the battle starts, and once you attack him, he's going to what? Retreat and join your side. So take that into account. If you were Qutuz, would you believe that or not? What would you do? I just want to. Yes, no.
Believe with caution.
So that's what they decide. Being, again, people of strategy, believe with cautions. Take it into account, but don't depend on it, right? So that was the thought of both Baybars and Qutuz. Now we go to the battle itself. And the armies meet in a place very interesting, Ain Jalut. Why is the name interesting? Jalut. Jalut is what in the Quran? Talut wa Jalut. Goliath. The eye of Goliath. So which represents what? David and Goliath. Which is known for what? That's when David defeats Goliath, right? So they meet in the same place, right? Ain Jalut, right? And they choose a place which is like, it's a valley. You can see the forests and the mountain, right? And the plan of Baybars and Qutuz is that we hide most of the army behind those trees. And Baybars takes his vanguard and he goes in front, pretending that this is the army, right? And he meets the Mongols, and then what? He retreats till he brings them within this area, and then they kind of attack, right? But the main brunt is going to be on this vanguard. So Baybars is very critical. You're going to face the whole army. You have to be able to fight and move back, fight and retreat. It has to be organized, right? And Baybars takes some of the best warriors and the Mamluks of the entire army, and they start marching. And Baybars takes his position, right? And surely enough, Katboga, with all the army of the Mongols, and of course the Hospitallers and the Templars and some of the Crusaders from Antioch join, not Ak, right? And the Armenians, and he puts them in the front because those are what? The knights, if you will. Their horses are big, and they charge, and they're iron, they're like tanks, right? So they're in the front, right? And then they charge, and like they see now Baybars. They see what? Like, oh, there is the flags of the Mamluks, right? And then at this point, Baybars starts bringing his troops. It was on a hill, and Baybars starts bringing his troops down. Now something happens. Remember we said Al-Ashraf al-Ayyubi, and there were some people that later switched side. So they said we were with Katboga Nuain, the leader of the Mongols. And when Baybars showed, and the Mamluks started what? Arranging their troops. And the Mamluks came down, they said, by the way, they had each regiment will have a specific dress, meaning what? White and red, blue and white, and the way they're dressed and their armor and their horses, organized. And they start to come down in a very unique military fashion and align their forces to this extent. This is what happened. Said, فَبُهِتَ Katboga. When Katboga saw Baybars' troops coming down, it said he was pale-faced, right? And he started asking, he starts asking, whose troops are this? He starts asking one of the Muslims, right? Who are those? They look scary. And the man said, oh, this is the troops of so-and-so of the Mamluks. And then the second regiment comes and says, Katboga is now shocked. And says, who are those? Oh, those are the troops of so-and-so, and then a third regiment comes, and the man asks, and who are those? And he decides he doesn't know, but he says, I started to make up names. Oh, this is the troops of Damascus. This is the troops of this. This is the troop of Iraq. This is the troop. So he's telling Katboga what all the Mamluks from everywhere are uniting against you, right? He started to make, and Katboga's what? He's like, this is something from Allah. That fear, those are the Mongols. Something happened inside. He now is psychologically taken back, right? And then at this point, after he sees now the Baybars troops are ready, he orders charge. And the Armenians and the Franks and the heavy knights charge towards Baybars. And the two forces clash. What Baybars does is the plan. First of all, he stands against them. He meets them in battle. He does not retreat, and the battle starts to get, and then he starts to retreat behind the hill. Remember, we met them in a hill? And he retreats behind the hill. At that point, the Mongols could not see because now they went behind the hill. What is going on? Right? So what happens at this point? Kad Boganwin orders everybody, let's just finish them off. He orders all the Mongols, all the Mongolian army, just charge, let's finish off this Mamluk army. And now the entire army starts charging Baybar's position. And Baybar start again in a very strategic way, fighting, retreating, fighting, retreating, fighting, retreating, right? And they start to what? Follow and follow. And he's tough. It's a tough battle. He's not easy. So every time he retreats, he's like, okay, we'll finish him off. And he keeps retreating and retreating, which is what the plan they agreed upon, right? And they keep following and following and going into the Sahl of Ain Jalut, right? Till they approach, you remember this crescent place that they hid their troops? And surely enough, Baybars draws them to the trap. Once they go inside the trap, the order is given for the Mamluk army now to show from behind the trees and attack from all sides. And at this point, they discover that the Mamluks are much more many than what they thought. And now the main battle happens with the Mamluks attacking from everywhere. At this point, those are Mongols, they're strong. What he was told, Qutuz was told, was right. The right flank of the Mongols were the strongest. And the plan was attack the left flank of Qutuz's army, oversway them, and encircle the army and attack Qutuz from behind. So this was the plan of the Mongols. Go from the right, make a breach, and then go from behind and surround your enemy, right? And those were very powerful warriors, and they attacked the left flank of Qutuz, and surely a strong, great battle happened, and they succeeded in pushing the Muslims back. And the battle was so terrible at the point with Baybars in the center, and the Mongols are fighting, and the Muslims are, as you can see, are being pushed back. And at this point, they started breaking. Some of them started retreating, right? And at this point, Qutuz counter plan happens. Qutuz have reserved some of his best troops in the back with him. And when he saw what's happening, Qutuz, it said he took off his helmet. Two reasons. Everybody, I'm Qutuz. Second, I'm not afraid of death, right? And he charged himself. And he took the troops with him, and he decides to do what? Now I'm going to use my troops to support Qutuz himself. I'm supporting the left flank, and throws himself in the battle, right? Now it is said the Mamluks used a kind of a very interesting secret weapon here. I call it the anti-pony, right? This was used for the first time according to some historians, right? The Mamluks developed a weapon that the Mongols didn't know, according to some, call it the anti-pony, right? Remember the ponies, right? What is that weapon? For the first time, they introduce handheld cannons, the very primitive precursor to guns, gunpowder. So the Mamluks in technology, they've developed the idea of what you put the gunpowder, you put pellets, and you set it to flame, and what happens? It's a gun, it fires, right? So they come down with those guns and they start firing against the Mongols. They're very primitive, and they said they didn't do much damage. It wasn't yet developed. But you know what happened? It scared the ponies to death. Now the Mamluk horses were trained to the sound of the guns, but the ponies were terrified. Some of them ran with their riders and left the battlefield, right? It was a very interesting thing, right? So you can see new technology being introduced by the Mamluks, right? And at that point, the battle was so rough. And again, with the help of Qutuz and what he did in the battlefield, fighting himself, the Muslims started pushing on the Mongols. And surely enough, they succeed in pushing the Mongols all the way. And the plan is working. Finally, the Muslims are surrounding the Mongols, right? And now it's about to be complete. The Mongols are completely encircled and the battle is tough in all places. And at that point, Kadboganwain, the leader, says the following: I am not retreating, basically. There is no recourse except to die in this point. And he orders everybody, fight to death, right? And Kadboganwain is met with some of the top Mamluks of Qutuz's army, and they start fighting hand to hand. And by Allah's grace, this Mamluk succeeds in killing Kadboga in the battlefield. This is the leader of the Mongols, right? When he fell, the Mongols lost heart. And all they wanted now is what? To escape the battlefield. And they started breaking through and they succeeded in making a breach and they started running. Now, what happened next? They started escaping. But you know the likes of Bibars. He did what? It's not khalas, we're victorious, let's return to Egypt. Go after them. And he chased and he met them in another battle called the Battle of Baisan here. And he completely finished almost all of the army of the Mongols in that battle, right? The result of this, and we'll stop here if we have 5 minutes, right? The result, this was a major victory of the Battle of Ain Jalut. The Mongol army got completely almost wiped out for the first time. Egypt is safe. And everybody's time to celebrate, let's return to Egypt. Qutuz was about what? What do you mean return to Egypt? We didn't finish the Mongols. It's not about Egypt. It's about what? The Muslims. So what do you speak? We're not returning. He immediately said, Damascus and Aleppo, charge. And now the Muslim army starts to do what? Let's go to fight. Let's liberate Damascus. And his army heads towards Damascus. We're planning to put siege, take Damascus back. By the time they arrive to Damascus, something interesting happened. Damascus has been already liberated. How it happened? Who did that? When the Ain Jalut happened, the people discovered for the first time that the Mongols are not superhumans. The Mongols can be defeated. So the people of Damascus is a lot of people, took their arms, made an uprising, attacked the garrison of Damascus, defeated the garrison of Damascus, and freed Damascus. So Qutuz comes and Damascus opens the door and Qutuz enters. And guess what happened? Aleppo, Hama, all the Syrian peninsula. Subhanallah, nobody, they liberated themselves. طب ما كان من الأول. يعني when you can fight, what happened? You see the psychological element? Because they discovered it's fake. They can be defeated, right? So now the Mongols have a serious problem because everybody they believe we can beat you. And we have a leader and he's coming, right? We're not alone. This is not Muhammad ibn Khawarizm who's going to leave us to the Khawarizmi soldiers. This is Qutuz, this is Bibars, they're here. We know, we fight, they're going to come. They're not going to abandon us, right? So now they march, and what happens? The entire Sham is liberated. Subhanallah, in months. The Egyptians and before me, Qutuz, right? All the area of Sham is now what? Liberated by the army of Qutuz. Is this the end? The news reach Holako. What do you expect will happen next now? So, oh my God. And this is what Kadboga said before he dies. He says, don't think you're winning. When the news of this reaches Holako, he is going to send his troops, and the hooves of our ponies are going to be in Cairo in no time. Holako's coming himself. And now everybody's embracing for what? The news reached Holako. Now Holako sees he's losing Sham. There is going to be a major counter attack by Holako Khan. What will happen? Will the Mamluks be able to sustain this? How will they confront Holako? How will events change? This is inshallah what we'll know after Salat al-Dhuhr, inshallah. Subhanak Allahumma wa bihamdik, la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka.
Inshallah, we will start at 1:15. We'll have modern launch is already in the